What's going on, money lovers? Welcome back. So today I'm going to do a little follow-up video to my last video on ARKG. Since I made that video, Cathie Wood came out with a fantastic interview, and I'm going to show some highlights from that today. Also want to give you an update on our Spend 10K, Make 10K challenge. If you're new here, that's a challenge I just started. My plan is to put 10K into a new brokerage account, and by, I believe it's December 17th, 2021, it's 1 year from whenever I started, which was last week sometime. My goal is to double that, so make it into 20K. If I don't make 20K, if I end up with 18K, I'm donating all my gains to charity. If I lose money, IRS is not going to be very happy. So yeah, let's jump right into it. I'm going to show you guys some highlights of some things Cathie Wood had to say, primarily pertaining to the genomic sector. We're going to get to that in a minute, but first I had to touch on this. I thought this was hilarious. If we look at the bottom here, this is the way they introduced her. This last bullet point, followed by Elon Musk on Twitter. You can put that on your resume, followed by Elon Musk on Twitter. All right, so before we get into the genomic stuff, I thought that this was a really good quote, what she had to say. She said, "We just keep our eye on the prize." She said that we have a 5-year time horizon. We're fully invested at all times, which is what we're supposed to be. But that doesn't mean that investors should not sometimes take a bit of money off the table and keep some powder dry. This is something that I've been struggling with lately. Better to be in the market than out. And I don't want to try and time the market, but at the same time, I am keeping a little bit of cash on the side in the unlikely event that we do get some, another type of crash or correction. I think another crash is highly unlikely, especially now that we got our $2 a day of stimulus, or whatever it came out to if you divide it by the amount of time that has passed since the last one. Anywho, not going to get into that. I think it is always a good idea to have some money on the side. I definitely try to keep at least a tiny bit. It is tempting to just, throw it all in the market, but now that everything's just back to all-time highs, I'm not really buying the same stocks that I was 6 months ago, and I'm looking for new opportunities. And I think I have found a great one, and after this interview, we'll see if you agree. So let me play some highlights.
I feel like our portfolios are filled with Amazons because the seeds for what we are doing now, they were planted in the tech and telecom bubble, and they have been gestating all this time, and now they're breaking out to those growth trends, just like Amazon did.
So the portfolio may not be able to replicate the 500+% gain it's had in the past 5 years, but it should be, based on what you just told me, well over 100%. It should double plus in the next 5 years.
Yes, we expect more than a doubling in our portfolios over the next 5 years.
Which of your current holdings, Cathie, do you think will supply the biggest lift in the next 5 years?
Tesla's still in the running, but I would have to say the biggest upside surprises are going to come from the genomic space. And that's because the convergence of DNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, and gene therapies, importantly CRISPR gene editing, are going to cure disease. That convergence is going to cure disease.
A lot of interesting things to say. I wrote down a few things I thought were of note here. She basically said that she thinks that the next FAANG stocks, or think of your big tech, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, those types of companies that in the last decade have had just an utterly insane run-up. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands of percent. She thinks the next sector that's going to have those types of returns is going to be the genomic sector. Those are the next FAANG stocks. Now, I've already been saying I want more healthcare exposure. I've kind of been lacking exposure to healthcare. And I think healthcare and tech, what two things do we need more or are going to grow more moving forward than those two sectors? And especially now with biotech, you kind of have a convergence of both. And like she said earlier, during the dot-com bust, that's when all these companies were just getting started. Now they're ready for prime time. We've kind of weeded out the men from the boys, if you will. The companies that are still standing, that have been around now, are gaining notoriety. Like, these are the companies that are going to solve the problem that we need to. These are the companies of the future. Now, one thing I thought that was very interesting, they had mentioned that their main holding, ARKG here, ARKK is the ticker, which I own, also actually has, if we go down to their sector weightings, 35% of this portfolio is in healthcare, which I didn't even realize this. Next up is tech at 28%. But healthcare is by far the biggest holding, which I thought was very interesting, because when I think ARK, K, I just think of Tesla, Square, those types of companies, but they have a very significant healthcare weighting, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that they've increased as of late. So I own ARK. I think this is a fantastic ETF, but that's not the one that I'm here to talk about today. The one that I really want to talk about today that I'm most excited for is ARKG, their Genomic Revolution ETF, which I recently started buying. If you saw my last video, I started a position last week. So if you can, as you can see here, this is the portfolio I was talking about, the spend 10K, make 10K challenge, of which I've contributed only $1,000 to so far, still have 9,000 to go. And those 10 shares I bought of ARKG already made over 12%, which, let's see, actually, I'll tell you exactly when I bought them. The 17th. So in 5 days, 12% return, not bad, but obviously I'm in it for the long term here. And I was going to buy some more today. I got busy, I didn't get around to it. I'm planning, I think tomorrow, I'll probably put maybe another 500 or so into ARKG in this portfolio. But anywho, so this portfolio is 95, almost 96% healthcare. And this is where I'm going to start focusing my my capital. You look at some of these top 10 holdings. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I did in the last video. I'll link that in the description below, by the way. CRISPR Therapeutics, you've probably been hearing about, Invitae, Teladoc. These are the companies I think of the future. If you're enjoying the video so far, do me a huge favor. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. It would really help the channel. And tell everyone, I'm trying to grow the channel. The goal is to get 300 subscribers by the end of the year. So I've got about a week here. Tell anyone you know. If you like the channel, you got friends, family, they want to learn about investing, tell them to subscribe. So I think there's really no doubting that this genomic sector is the future. I would not bet against ARK and Cathie Wood. She has been right about everything so far. And I'm much more comfortable investing in ARKG, letting them manage this portfolio as needed and put the companies they see fit in, as opposed to me going out trying to find my own genomic companies. At the end of the day, I could research these for hours and hours and still not get it. And everything could sound just peachy and I could still pick a doozy and lose all my money. So I'm much more comfortable buying this fund of stocks, which I think are going to perform very well moving forward. I also think, not that I've changed my thesis at all, I'm still a big Tesla fan, but there's no denying that it's ridiculous where it's valued right now, and I'm not buying anymore, so I don't really want to put a ton more money into ARKG. Since I already have so much exposure to Tesla and those main companies, I want ARKG. I think it's the next big thing. ARKG will probably outperform ARKG moving forward, and I think Cathie Wood's right that ARKG potentially could outperform FAANG. The other thing she said that was very interesting about the FAANG stocks is that people are basically, their strategy, and I think the broader market is also going to start to do this. They asked her why she doesn't have more exposure to, FAANG, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. And they said moving forward, they're probably going to use it as more of a place to keep their cash while they wait for opportunities. These are the new blue chip companies. I think that's what a lot of people are going to do. Because what do you do with your cash these days? You're going to put it in the bank where you're going to lose 3% to inflation a year. And if the Fed just, wants to have a money printing party every day, the value of the dollar has gone down 10% since March. So you just keeping your money in the bank, you're losing 13% a year. So I could see a lot of people start to, whether it's in an index fund or directly into the FAANG stocks, either way, the majority is going into big tech. That's where they're gonna, keep their money. That's something that I wouldn't be opposed to, because I hate having too much money just sitting around non-invested. I feel like it's wasting away there, And I could very well see these big tech companies, although they are under a lot of government scrutiny, if it goes anywhere, if they end up getting spun off, that's going to only help investors. I mean, they'll unlock immense value potential and growth potential. But anywho, I could very well see it being the case where these are the new blue chip companies. They're kind of like your safe haven. You just stick your money in. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. But anyway, the point I wanted to make here is these companies, we look at FAANG, they've had an insane run up over the last decade, and it can't go on forever. I'm not saying they're going to stop growing. They're going to keep growing. I could see 10, 20% a year, but they can't grow 50, 100% anymore. They're just too big, with the exception of maybe Amazon, which still has, they're just on another level. So let me know what you think of ARKG in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. This is Vinny from the Investment Club, and I'll see you next time.